very special one as well for the section. It is the Andrew C. Hecker Memorial Award. Tonight we have a recipient that's not only deserving of the award, but he's a friend to many in this room. The Andrew C. Hecker Award is presented to a person who has consistently demonstrated the qualities of leadership, outreach, enthusiasm, professionalism, and pride in TIPS and all of our accomplishments. Tonight we have a very special person to present the award to our recipient. Susan Nolte, who is here, was the section director of our section from 1997 to 2010. She is a dear friend to our recipient. And it is with great honor that I invite up Susan Nolte to present the Andrew C. Hecker Award. Susan.
Wow, that was such an inspirational story. It is an honor and a privilege to present the Andrew C. Hecker Award to my good friend Tom Davis. Tom was brought into the section by Hugh Reynolds, who is a past chair and a 2006 recipient of this award, and that was 20 years ago. 20 years ago at this meeting, in 1993, Tom came in as the chair-elect of the Economics and Law Practice Management Committee. And at that meeting, he met Steve Lesser, Jim Proctor, Pam and Jean Beckham, Neil Shane, who I know a lot of us all remember who passed away, and Paul Dominic. And these are relationships that remain today. By the fall of 1993, the chair of the Economics and Law Practice Management Committee dropped out. So Tom was chair. Now keep in mind, he had only been to one TIPS meeting, and he was suddenly chair of a very vibrant committee. But knowing Tom, as we all do, he just dove right in, and he produced a CLE program, he produced newsletters, he did what every good committee chair does, and he had a very successful year. In the next years, Tom served on the TIPS Scope Committee as the chair of the Scope Committee, as the committee coordinator. He served on the General Committee Board, on the Long Range Planning Committee, on the TIPS Council, and has served for many years on the TIPS Diversity Initiative Task Force. And you'll notice this picture up here, and that's of Tom and Jim Carroll when they were conducting a public service project for the Leadership Academy. And I would imagine Tom will talk a little bit more about that later. But I think it's very fitting that Tom is receiving this award at the James K. Carroll Leadership and Awards Dinner, since they were really good buddies. Besides being a dedicated and enthusiastic TIPS leader, Tom is also an excellent and accomplished attorney. He practices law with Ross Brown Todd in Indianapolis. He has tried more than 100 jury trials in state and federal court and is a member of the American Board of Trial Advocates. He is annually recognized in the Best Lawyers in America and Super Lawyers in Indiana. He was the recipient of various awards, including the Distinguished Barrister Award from the publication The Indiana Lawyer and the Honorable Paul H. Buchanan Jr. Award of Excellence from the Indianapolis Bar Association. He is also a past president of the Indianapolis Bar Association and vice president of the Indianapolis Legal Aid Society. TIPS Chair Dick Simergen, and this was in the press release, he commented, "Tom is the go-to guy in TIPS, meaning he will help and do essentially anything asked of him with a smile on his face. He exemplifies leadership and professionalism and has always reached out to new TIPS members to make them feel at home within the section. He is a true friend to all of us in this section, and his hard work and enthusiasm makes Tom the perfect choice for this award. Dick's words are definitely true. Tom is always a guy you can go to, and he will perform. He will do what he needs to do. I can give you an example. Back in 2006, when we were just getting our Leadership Academy off the ground, we invited past ABA President Robert Gray to speak at the Leadership Academy. Well, of course, the section wanted to put their best foot forward and show Robert a good time and show him how great TIPS is. So they put Robert in Tom's foursome at the section golf outing. Well, of course, they had a great time. And after that, in future years, Robert returned and spoke at our Leadership Academy on several occasions, which was always a great presentation. Okay, I can't let this opportunity go by without making some personal comments and observations about Tom. A lot of you know Tom and I are great friends, and we have been for many, many years. We have a lot in common. For one thing, we're the same age. Well, Tom's 6 months older than me. 6 months to the day, actually. Also, Tom and I have had multiple marriages. When people ask Tom, why have you been married 5 times? He says the answer is simple. I make a great first impression. But fortunately, and thank goodness, Tom and I both got it right this time, and we did it at exactly the same time. In 2001, in January of 2001, Tom married Jill just 2 weeks after I married Phil. So even that we have in common, and now we have a pretty good record because both of us have been married for 12 and a half years, successfully. Tom has regularly stayed in contact with me, even though I am no longer the section director. In fact, right before every mid-year and annual meeting, he'll call me up on the phone and say, hey, how about if we get together for dinner or a drink or lunch or something and just touch base? And of course, we always do. But I'm not alone in that. Tom is great at forming friendships. And he is excellent at forming these friendships and keeping those friends, and I think that's why he has so many. He has a core group of TIPS friends that I know he stays in touch with, just like he stays in touch with me. If you ask the Beckhams, the Borkmans, Glenn Troublefield, Natalie Vermette, Bill Black, Steve Lesser, Peter Bennett, Peter Neeson, and many, many others, I know they'll say the same thing about him. He stays in touch. And they always say, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And that's what Tom's all about. And that's what TIPS is all about. It's about coming together, cultivating friendships with people with similar interests, and just becoming a really cohesive group and doing some really important work along the way to promote the legal profession. TIPS is a very tight-knit community, and one that I am so proud to have been a part of for 13 years. And it is like people like Tom that make this place so very special. And so with that, I'd like to present the Andrew C. Hecker Award to my good friend Tom Davis, who is so deserving of this honor.
Thank you. Dick told me he had a surprise presenter tonight. You did, man. You left us in good hands, but you still left us. And it is always great when you come back. Thank you for being part of this night. Tom, Janice, I got none. I bailed my brother out of the Monroe County Jail. No film in 11. So, let me share a couple of heartfelt thoughts with you all. This is really a bittersweet moment for me tonight. It's a sweet moment because I met Andrew Hecker. And as Susan said, it was 20 years ago this month. My partner and mentor asked me if I'd like to become more involved in TIPS. And TIPS was sort of a mystery to us back at Lock Reynolds at the time. We thought it was a bunch of three-legged people who got together 4 times a year at some really great places. And I knew the firm paid for it. And I said, yes, I would. And I went to the annual meeting in New York City, my first ever ABA or TIPS meeting. And I met Andrew Hecker. This guy was a giant. He was not just a TIPS leader. He was a legend. This is a guy that you mentioned in the same breath as Reynolds and Doug Hauser, Marv Clark, Dudley Oldham. This guy was a giant. And everyone made it a point to introduce me to Andrew, and he was as welcoming to me as he was to dozens of other tipsters before him. And as Susan said, that was a very special meeting for me. I met Bill Black, who was Andrew's partner. I met Steve Lesser, who taught me how to put on a program so that my committee, not exactly vibrant as Susan described, but one which I found out after I accepted the appointment at the annual meeting, that it had been sunset by the scope committee that I came to love so dearly, and had been resurrected by council to give it one more chance, because after all, lawyers and economics do seem to go hand in hand. At that meeting, I also met 2 of the best friends that a guy could ever have, and that's Pam and Gene Beckham. And Gino, I can't tell you how much fun it is to be a part of your night tonight. And I'll warm the crowd up for you. It's no problem. This is going to be a great year coming up, and I couldn't be happier for Gene, Pam, and this whole section. But it's a bitter moment because I don't remember Andrew Hecker. I do not remember Andrew Hecker. When I saw his picture on the picture boards that we put up at the last meeting, which are absolutely wonderful, I didn't remember him. Because Andrew Hecker died the following year of cancer at 51 years old. And that kind of loss just leaves a hole in the section, a profession, a community. He was such a giant. He is recognized not just by tips, but annually by the Federation of Defense and Corporate Council and city and state. This man was just a giant. It's also a bittersweet night for me tonight because I couldn't be happier to accept this award at the Jim Carroll Leadership Dinner. It's Tip's signature event, and I'm so happy to be part of it. But I am still so sad that we have a Jim Carroll Leadership Dinner. And when they told me I got to have a picture, I knew exactly what picture I wanted to have up there. Because most of you have never seen me in a suit. But if you've ever seen me in a tie, I could have put up a 20-year-old picture, but I didn't want to do that. And this picture right here just exemplifies everything that Tips has meant to me over those 20 years. Jim was an incredible guy. And that picture was taken 4 years ago this week on the near west side of Chicago at the Leadership Academy Service Project. And a couple of old farts were hauling desks and washing off blackboards and setting out books. And as that picture was taken, we were sort of complimenting each other at how much fun we were having and how fit we were for a couple of old farts and how much we loved our spouses and our families and our profession and how we intended to go on for many, many more years because we were just having so much fun. And then Jim went home on Monday and got on the treadmill on Tuesday and died. And it's just so sad that he's not with us, but that we remember him each year, not only with this dinner, but with the Leadership Award, which we presented in D.C. He was just a marvelous guy. And it is a little tough for me tonight because just 2 weeks ago, I got home and found out that I was going to do a eulogy for one of my best friends that weekend. This man, Joe Russell, was a giant in the Indianapolis bar. He had been a friend of mine for 30 years, and it hit particularly close to home because Joe and I are the same age, and Joe was Jim Carroll's age 4 years ago. So, let me just share whatever I can muster up here before I sit down and let my buddy Gene take the podium here. I looked for something to say, and I thought, well, let's go to one of the most tired, trite, worn-out adages of our era. No, not that the general committees are the lifeblood of Tips. Draw the line somewhere. But that old phrase, carpe diem, seize the day. Live every day as if it's your last. Have passion for something. Jim and Andrew and so many of us, it's Tips. It can be your church, your school, your kids' school, the United Way, the Legal Aid Society, but just have a passion. It makes you a better person. It makes you a better spouse, a better parent. It makes us better warriors. Andrew never waited. Jim never waited. And I hope that all of you here, especially the younger tipsters, realize the opportunities that are out there and how we can grab at them and go from there. It's a real pleasure to accept this award at your last meeting, Dick. You used to say it right there. Good thing I remembered it. What a year. Relevance, excellence, professionalism. That's what TIPS is all about. And that's why I, like everyone else here, is so proud to be a member of this section. I'm so proud of what you've done. Thank you, pal. It has been super. So I want to close and tell you all this. I know I will never hold a candle to Andrew Becker. And I know I will never hold a candle to Jim Carroll. But I will tell you this, if this award is given for enthusiasm and pride in TIPS and its accomplishments, then I could not be happier to accept it tonight. Maya Angelou said, people will forget what you did. People will forget what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. Too few of us remember Andrew Hecker. Thank heavens we have this dinner and this award. Many of us remember Jim Carroll and how Jim Carroll made us feel just being around him. And I just want to say to each and every one of you, I will never, ever forget how you've made me feel tonight. Thank you very, very much.